Shake that. $180. Well, it's triple 20s. Well, they will shout out 150. Yeah, mate. Darts. Oh, I can show you my mad skills. I can actually hit the dartboard. Yeah. evening, viewers, to Apex Rear Wing in 2019. Yes, we're back, and it is round number 5 of the Caterhams. Very, very good evening to my co-commentators tonight. I'm joined by Matt Dunlop and Benjamin Rhodes. Gentlemen,
pleasure to be with you.
Good to be with you, Stairs.
Certainly is. It's been a good break for all of us. A good new year for you guys.
Good to be with you, Stairs.
Yeah, pretty quiet for me. Got a little bit of practice in the sim every now and then. Got all the stuff done around the house that I was putting off for months and months and months. So yeah, pretty productive.
Yes, sir. So no, it was a pretty good break. The lack of racing was a bit of a bummer, but yeah, good break. I finally actually got into some racing myself in a go-kart, which I haven't done for too long. But yeah, no, good break, but happy to get back into the Caterham series.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a quick look at how the championship situation is. And at the moment, it's Ziras leading by an absolute country mile, with Brett and Foley not too far behind. The only other man this series to have won a race, and he sits a fair few chunk of points behind. The only other man over 3 digits with Lewis Wedding, absent tonight, sitting in third, just ahead of a bit of a gaggle of cars there. Berto and Sam Smith tied on points. Goofball Antics pole position in the first race in the last 2 rounds. In 6th place. Apologies for the spelling error there. And the rest of the points, as you could see on the board there. And let's just have a little bit of a look at the calendar. As we sit, this is going to be the halfway point at the end of today, with Guaporé marking round 5. And the races to come. Circuit Paul Armagnac coming up next. Interlagos for round 7, Cadwell Park, Zandvoort and Sydney Motorsports Park. That's where we finish the season. As for tonight, 2 17-lap races ahead of us for a total race distance just over 104 kilometres. And this is the first time that Apex Rear Wing has visited this venue.
So this is the Guaporé circuit, located in Brazil, just ahead of Rio Grande. 3.08 kilometres long. We'll be having 2 17-lap races this weekend. In terms of the track's real-life presence, it was built in 1969, making it one of the oldest tracks in Brazil, and it was paved over in 1976, and the layout has stayed pretty much the same. In terms of the layout, it's a very forgiving track, especially given the lack of runoff, as you can see there. And there's a lot of banked corners that make it very fun to throw a car around this circuit.
Certainly does, and in practice, no real surprises in terms of the man at the top. It's, of course, Ziras leading the way. And just a refresher for anyone who hasn't watched the first 4 rounds of this series, we're doing a shootout qualifying session, and the order of that session, the order that they go out on track, is determined by their times in practice. So Tyrol, in the guest car, hasn't actually raced with us in anger. He's done the Laguna Seca practice session, and I think he did qualifying from memory in Laguna Seca last time out, but didn't make it to the race due to some technical issues. But here he is on track now to start his lap.
Yeah, good to see Tyrell back again with us after joining us for the Stadium Trucks and then Laguna Seca.
Certainly is. It's a good opportunity to go on board and just have a look at this Guaporé circuit. Now, you two gentlemen have been paying a bit of attention in the practice session while I was dealing with some technical issues, so maybe you'd like to talk us around the Guaporé circuit.
So Tyrrell's going through turn 2 now, and after turn 1, turn 2 is a good opportunity to sort of hold your line in case you stuff up turn 1, because it's a left into a right-hand corner, and it's good to sort of drive defensively and not lose too many places. Down a short little backstretch into turn 3 or 4, I'm not sure which one counts as a kink, but that's a slow second gear corner, probably one of the slowest corners on the track, as now it goes full throttle all the way up to 5th gear into a long sweeping right-hander. It's just out of reach of full throttle for these cars. You have to throttle off just a little bit to load off the front tyres, so you can get around and get some turning grip into those front tyres as you head into turn 6, the S's complex, which can be taken in 3rd gear, sometimes 4th if you're feeling a little bit brave. Now, here is where you have to watch out once the race wears on and marbles start to build up on the side of the circuit, because that can get very slippery if your car is unstable, which it could be to the left, right, left section. This is a very long final corner, this long left-hander, and your run out of here is absolutely crucial, because this main straight is 800 metres long, and you do not want to mess up your run if you're looking for good lap times, or if you're looking to pass up into turn 1, as Tyrrell posts a 1 minute 20.279 for his shootout lap.
Well, not too bad. It's fairly close actually to what he managed in practice. He did a 119.8, and for someone who hasn't got much experience like him to come that close to your best lap isn't too bad a performance.
Yeah, definitely look out for Tyrrell to make his way up the field, I think, during the race, because this is a track I've found is very easy for newcomers to get the hang of in pretty short amount of time because of its forgiving nature, like I mentioned earlier, with the wideness of the track and the banking in a lot of the corners.
Looking towards Nether now, and he's up by 1 second in the first sector, so he's looking pretty strong to jump up into provisional pole on his lap.
Yeah, he was quietly pottering away in practice, but yeah, he did a good job. He's learnt the track, and he is looking very confident on his run here.
And he's, there you go, 2.5 seconds now up through the second sector. A little bit of a lock-up there. He has had some issues with qualifying. He does tend to push it fairly hard and has come up with a few errors in qualifying. But so far, so good. Don't want to put the mockers on him. He's doing pretty well in the Porsche series over in AMS Oz, and he's got that race to think about tomorrow, the final race of that series where he's looking to secure second. So probably less focused on these Caterhams at the moment, but 3.9 seconds up, a 1:16.3. That's the time for Nether, and actually 3/10 faster, roughly, than what he did in practice.
So now we've got a Diesamaj who is having a little bit of trouble grasping this track. He's been going pretty well this season, though, so far, Diesamaj. He's had a best result so far of 5th, which he's got 3 times, but this track he just hasn't been able to get the grasp of. As you can see, he's 3rd out in the shootout. He was trailing Madbird around towards the late end of the session. They were having a good chat to each other. Madbird was teaching him the lines and the gears to be in at each corner. So hopefully he can put some of that knowledge to use as he comes on the main straight and makes the run down to start his flying lap.
It's surprising that Madbird would give him advice. They've got a good little rivalry going on, actually, those two at the moment. So Madbird's quite eager to stay ahead of him in the points. As it stands, Madbird does enjoy a 9-point lead. Sorry, more than that. If I can get my maths correct, 4 plus 7 is 11 points. So he enjoys an 11-point lead over Diesamaj at the moment. So he'll be eager to stretch that, considering he seems to be much better than Diesamaj pace-wise tonight.
And Diesamaj is up so far, only negligibly, I could say. It's 0.091. He's up at the moment through the first sector, which is about a 10th. So he's definitely up, and that's all that matters so far.
Exactly right. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, but of course we do have some fairly strong competition coming up after Diesamaj, so he'll want to not only jump up into pole position, but jump up into pole position by some margin.
I think this complex here, the S, is going to make for some very interesting passes because there's some very variable lines that I've found through watching a lot of the drivers going through this section, and if you don't get an ideal line through the first part, you can crisscross and you can dive right down the inside on the run into the last corner and just position yourself brilliantly, and that can be something to watch for on the last lap if the action's close at the front, which I think it will be.
Short old lap, and Diesamaj is coming towards the end of it, and half a tenth the gap in the end between Nether and himself, but Diesamaj prevails in provisional pole so far. Everyone who's come out on track has bettered the man before him.
Yeah, and now it's on to his Kamarvitspot Valveg. I probably butchered that entirely.
I think we'll just
racing teammate in Roadhog.
Yeah, I think we'll just call it QV Racing. I believe that Roadhog makes up these team names every race. That it means something along the lines of crotch explosion in whatever language it is that has taken his fancy before the season starts.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of doing things, but I mean the team name stands out, and I think we mentioned this before. It is a very evocative way of displaying what racing does to him. But speaking of the racing, he is he's on his flying lap now, and I think I just missed the first sector, but I think it was in the red. But he's going around the second sector now, and he is.
It's a purple middle sector, and he is up by a tenth of a second now, so he's faster than anyone through the middle sector. He was down on his teammate just marginally. Sorry, actually not marginally. It was about a tenth, well, 2 tenths in the first sector. But the final sector is going to be where it all counts for Roadhog. He was up in the middle sector, and he stays up on his teammate. So Roadhog, once again, the form book seeming to go exactly the way practice did.
Yeah, his final corner there did look a little bit rough, but it doesn't seem to have hurt him too much. He's currently sitting provisional first, but we still have, I think, 9 drivers to go, with Sam Smith being the first of those 9.
Sam probably a little bit lower back than we're used to seeing him in practice. He's been a bit of an odd fish with this particular series. I don't think they're quite gelling with his driving style. He has been in the hunt for wins at times, but he's also fallen back at times. Looking good on this lap, 3/10 up on Roadhog.
Yeah, in the early part of the season, he was getting podium after podium after podium, but he did start to drop off a little bit there. He missed one of the races at Place City, and he did get a podium at the last race at Laguna Seca, so anything could really happen. And it looks like his practice times have may not be reflecting what he'll be doing in qualifying, because, as you said, he's 3/10 up, and now he's 5/10 up, so he's looking very good right now.
Hello. Sam Smith's woken up, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's switched on from qualifying. I was listening to the field earlier. Just noticed something odd. Sam Smith running a left-hand drive Caterham. Everyone else running a right-hand drive Caterham. Whether there is something in that.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, if he's using a cockpit view, that will be an advantage, I would say, on some circuits as opposed to others. But 8/10 up in pole position goes Sam Smith with Josh Bagsy after, and Josh Bagsy's actually had a fairly strong run of form. He's been struggling in these cars, but a bit faster today in these around this circuit.
Yeah, he was getting mixed up in practice, fighting with the best of them in some of the sessions, having a good old scrap. So it'll be good to see how his qualifying pace looks, of course, and then how his racecraft will be.
Now, the practice fastest lap was a 1:14.7 from Ziras, so I know it's a short lap, but Sam's not that far off of that. It's only about half a second that Sam Smith missed out on the fastest time. Of course, we don't know whether Ziras has got another gear to go to in this qualifying session, but it bodes well.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ziras was putting down I think the best he got to in practice was a 1:14.7, which having set the fastest time, he went for I believe the time trial record to 1:15.1 and blew that away. But that was on a very, very well-worn track, and I believe it was a light and fuel load as well. But basically coming around the last corner now onto the final straight. He was, I believe, up in that second sector, so interesting to see if he's maintained that gap towards the end.
Here he comes, and he becomes the first man not to usurp the man before him. He slots into second place, ahead of Roadhog by the barest of margins.
Now, Resistor's out, and he'll be interesting to watch, because he was running second for a very long time, and maybe even been second at the end of the practice session there, right alongside his brother Ziras, so he could be pulling an absolutely fantastic lap out of the bag here.
So probably rookie of the season in the Porsche Cup series that ARW did last year, and he's going from strength to strength. He's just getting better gradually, and of course with Ziras as a brother, there is racing pedigree in that family. A little bit of a lock up in there, but he wasn't too far off through the first sector.
He was up there with Sam's time. He's coming around turn, I don't know if it's turn 4 or turn 5, depending on how you see the kink. But second sector split coming up now. But you've got it.
2.5 tenths down. So Sam did have a very, very strong end to the lap there. So Resistor's up against it to stay with him. But he probably wouldn't be too displeased with second behind Sam Smith as it stands.
No, second and Sam Smith still really good, but it depends on how the chips fall with everyone else. He's still got half the field to has indeed got second place there.
Not bad. Madbird next man up for Artec Racing. Team
Decent match, personal tutor.
Exactly, well, that's personal there. And Decent Match would be a bit worried here because he's already sat in 5th place. If Madbird goes to the top of the tree, he's put a lot of cars in between them. But it'll be a tall order to beat Sam Smith with the lap he laid down.
Yeah, he'll be hopefully relying, but I was going to say relying on him making a mistake. He's honestly done that, but he is 1/10 off Sam Smith at that first sector.
So he's close, but he's not close enough.
Well,
but
more of the lap to go. It's not over till it's over.
Absolutely, yeah. Anything can happen through these last 2 sectors, and it's good to see that everyone's taking pretty much a similar line through that wide sweep. It seems like the sort of corner that would breed a lot of different lines, especially during racing, I'd say. But during qualifying, everyone looks to be doing the same thing. And then trying to get stable on the one into the S's because it's just short straight through the S's and you have to get the car stable and not slide too much. You want us to slide just a little bit to get some power down in the direction you want to go, but too much and oversteer is never a really good thing, is it? As Mad Bird comes onto the main straight now.
It's going to be close between him and Resist. They were level pegging through the second sector, and Mad Bird slots behind him into third place, ahead of the Gaggle. So third place, and that's a pretty good result for Resist and Sam Smith as Birdo begins his lap.
Yeah, he was not as well spaced as we would have liked, but yeah, on the Birdo. Yeah, he jumped in later in the session, so he didn't get a lot of laps down. But yeah, to gotta count backwards here, to qualify fourth or third somewhere in there in practice. Yeah, it's a good result for Birdo. He's been plugging away out of the limelight, I suppose, out of the obvious spotlight.
Well, he's looking pretty good now. He's up 2.26. Well, sorry, 0.226 of a second as he rounds turn 4 or turn 5, however you want to look at it. Maybe turn 3. I've lost track at this point. I should really print out a circuit map. But he's on the run down to the big, wide, sweeping right-hander. And, yeah, he's looking pretty good so far this session. Like I said, 2/10 up on Sam Smith, which is a fantastic lap. So this is looking to be an even better lap as he comes towards the second split now. Is just above 0.063 above Sam Smith. So this is on a knife edge as they come down through the S's.
This is tastier than my mum's Christmas ham because Sam Smith and Berto are currently tied on points at 97. So whoever comes ahead in this battle is absolutely crucial. And with Lewis Wedding absent tonight, it's a huge opportunity for them both. Is it going to be Sam Smith or Berto on provisional pole? Oh, Sam had an absolutely mega final sector, clearly, because no one can live with him. Berto is lucky to hang on to actually, no, he has slotted into third behind Resist. So amazing.
Yeah, there must be something in that sort of that left, right, left, and I can't. I'm trying to remember. I made the joke a year ago, but I'm trying to remember back to the first part of the season, whether it was Sam being the one that we were throwing the creative car control out there. But if it was indeed, he's put that to play and it's worked out for him. But Goofball's up now.
You know, now that you mentioned Sam Smith's last sector as Goofball goes up by 2/10, now that you mentioned Sam Smith's last sector, you did also mention earlier that he's the only one on a left-hand drive Caterham, and because that last sector is three left-hand, oh sorry, yes, there's 2 left-hand bends and one right-hand bend, and that second left-hand bend, the final corner, is such a long curve. I reckon that the left-hand drive Caterham would definitely play to his advantage through that last sector at the very least, as Goofball is now 0.297 up, so he is still provisional pole, but we'll have to see how he does through this final sector.
That's a very good spot there, Matty, and I wonder there might just be something to that. Let's see whether Goof loses any time to Sam through this final sector. He's the man who's been on pole in the first race in the last 2 rounds. Can he make it 3 from 3, or is Sam Smith going to get the better of him through the final sector? Goofball extends his advantage, so we might have to put that theory to bed, at least for Goofball antics anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say something else, something to do with either the weight over the left side of the car, or it was going to be better vision of the apex. But yeah, Goofball has run all that out of the water. He's put himself nearly 4/10 up on Sam Smith, and we've got a few cars left to go.
Yep, I'm putting my words in the microwave right now, grabbing a fork out of the drawer and getting ready to start eating them.
Well, it's always entertaining watching Brenton Foley in a qualifying lap because he loves to throw the car around. Is he going to maintain that sort of style in 2019? I think the answer is yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say, just as you mentioned that, he was very nearly backing it into turn 2. So, yep, that style is keeping up, but the speed is not forthcoming from that. He's down 2/10 in the first sector.
Hefty amount on a short lap like this. So Brenton Foley has got it all to do to usurp Goofball antics, or even stay ahead of Sam Smith. We know how strong the end of his lap was.
Yeah, he's made up a tiniest margin, but he's still down over 1.5 tenths. And unless he can pull out a mega final sector here, he's possibly looking at second. Might have moved down to third, just based on Sam's last sector.
I wonder if he just didn't carry enough speed into that penultimate corner. It looked like he sort of turned in and got a bit more grip than he was expecting, and kind of had to sort of open it up again. Wow, that was closer than I was expecting it. Only 0.08 of a second in the end. But
I'm not sure where he pulled that from.
Yeah, what?
Yeah,
I was critiquing his line, and well, it was clearly fast.
He was getting to the point of nearly being behind Sam Smith, and then he pulled that out of nowhere. So those two seem to be the ones to dominate final sectors. Actually, the top three really the ones that are pulling the final sector out of the hat.
Well, speaking of fast, Ziras is on track now, and he's currently .026 up, which is sort of uncharacteristic for how dominant he's been this season. He has won every single race bar one, which he finished second, so we can only expect fantastic things from him.
That's true, but he hasn't qualified on pole since VIR back in round 2. We've seen Goofball Antics take the last 2 pole positions of this championship, so Ziras is up against it with the mammoth final sector that Goofball Antics had. Said that, Brenton Foley's final sector was pretty special too. And look at that, 10th and a half down through the second sector for Ziras.
Yeah, it's odd for Ziras to be seeing red on a high lap session, but that looked like a pretty good run to the final corner. A little bit gracious use of the curve.
A fair bit of speed coming up to the line. Has he got enough to take Goofball Antics? Yes, he does. He breaks Goofball Antics' pole streak, and Ziras is sitting on the front row in first place in about 10 minutes time when we get racing.
By 0.036 of a second. That is a very close margin there, but he'll be very happy with that. That's his first pole position for a while.
I didn't think he had it, gentlemen. I didn't think that he was going to be able to claw that back over such a short distance.
Oh, it's a weird third sector, isn't it? Anything's happening there.
It is, yeah. No, I just had a look. We struggled to get one guy into 114s in practice, and we got the top 3 into the 114s in qualifying. So I don't know. Maybe the pressure is bringing the cream to the top.
Yes, it has been bringing the cream to the top. That's not actually, incidentally, as fast as Ziras mentioned managed in practice, but seeing so many other guys up there in the 14s makes me think there was probably a little bit of sandbagging and high fuel running going on during that practice session.
Just possibly, yeah.
Well, I did hear a few of the drivers mention during practice that they do prefer to run with a high fuel load, especially Madbird. Not sure what the reasoning is. If it was me, I'm a very forgetful person, so if it was me driving, I'd like to run with a high fuel load just because I'd forget to put fuel back in the car for the race and I'd conk out after 3 laps.
Yeah, well, in qualifying, it can be the difference. The fuel, especially in lightweight cars like these Caterhams, is pretty important to qualify with a low fuel run. But of course, during practice, you want to replicate as best you can the conditions that you'll have during the race. So that's why a lot of them will certainly do a race simulation during that practice session and practice with the fuel they intend to begin the race on.
Yeah, I was thinking it could possibly be just a case of, at least in the qualifying session, some people might want a more stable rear end, and so you go for the lighter fuel load to take the weight out. But yeah, those that want a livelier end, like we saw Foley, you might leave it in just to add a bit more. It's weird in a race car to want fluid weight transfer, but you might want it the way you drive.
Yeah, these cars do like a tiny bit of oversteer, so you do need to get the weight balance in the rear of the car just right. Brenton Foley looks like, when he drives, he always looks like he's got his down to a T, where he's got his weight balance in the rear because he likes sliding whenever he gets the opportunity. And obviously, by the looks of it, sometimes it cuts into his qualifying times and his lap times a little bit, but it certainly makes for entertaining viewing, doesn't it, fellas?
It does, and he's always in the fight in the race. You can almost never count him out unless he's completely spun out, but I think that he's always going to be a dangerous person to have in the mirrors. If you see that turquoise and grey car coming up behind you, you know that you're going to have a hard time keeping him behind you. And more to the point, he seems to be having a lot of fun on the way to these race results.
Yeah, we had some great battles between him and Ziras at Place City Circuit, where Brenton Foley got his first win and got a podium in the second race as well. So there's some fantastic spectating to be had there.
And that was a lesson for Foley in not backing off, because he thought he had that race won in the second race, and then he backed off, and Ziras ended up winning that race. And I think that goes to show that for Foley, the best tactic is to stay aggressive.
Looks like they're trying to line up for a practice start, but it looks like they've all forgotten that the grid positions are behind the start line, or sorry, behind the finish line, and not behind the start line. So they're trying to line up on thin air here.
They are trying to figure out where exactly they all are relative to one another, and it's all sort of gone a bit tits up, if I'm quite honest.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think we've ever had a warm-up session that hasn't gone tits up in some fashion, but We haven't seen anyone go 3 wide or 4 wide in turn 1 yet. Yet being the operative word. And we haven't heard any horns yet either, actually.
Surprising. Maybe they've forgotten what the keybind is for the horns. I'm sure they'll watch this broadcast back going, oh yeah.
Yeah, we knew we were missing something.
It's been I'm sure, a long time. Probably feels like a long time since the last round in Laguna Seca with Christmas and all the family dinners and New Year parties and stuff in between.
Well, Lewis Wedding is normally the serial user of the horn. Ah, there we go. As soon as we mention it, the horn starts kicking. But Lewis Wedding is normally the serial user of that horn, and he isn't able to make it this weekend, unfortunately.
He's just having a bit of a spin there, pushing the limits of the edge of the track, which you can do in warm-up. There's, of course, not long to the race, but of course you don't have to deal with the time it takes to actually repair a car during the time in between warm-up and the first race.
It's with the nature of this start line where it is, they're all coming flying through that last corner and immediately jamming the brakes on. It's like Stairs, you won't recognise this, but it's like when you're going down the freeway and then you see a set of flashing lights. The reference to the dumb little road rule that they've got in Victoria and New South Wales that you have to slow to 40 when you see flashing lights. They're on the freeway, but yeah, they're lining up for race practice start now.
Flashing lights as in police lights.
Yeah,
emergency lights on police vehicles and ambulances.
I do recognise that because we had that rule before you did. But anyway, that's enough about a backward state here in South Australia.
There are the horns.
Someone's watching the broadcast said, guys, we forgot the horns. And this is a proper practice start, and it looks like a few of them missed the launch. Bagsy got away well ahead, but he's been boxed out there by Brenton Foley and Goofball Antics. Of course, if you just joined our broadcast, this is not the actual race start. This is the warm-up session, and they're doing what I have to say is a pretty good practice start. It's quite a long run down to turn one. Are they going to get through cleanly?
Oh, no, they're going 3 wide. They're going 3 wide. They're going, no, make that 4 wide. Make that, no, there's many wides.
Yeah, but that's good. They've got through more or less unscathed. So that was pretty good. They tend to push it a little bit harder in these warm-up practice starts than they do in the actual race. And they seem to be coming into this new year with and as I say that, there's a bit of a tap, but they seem to be coming into the new year with pretty clean racecraft. Looking good.
Well, nobody's in the fence so far, which is only a good thing, especially given how close the fences are to the track around here.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I just watched Roadhog very, very much almost back into the hairpin, I think all by himself as well. But yeah, they've kept it off the fence, but the way they're going, yeah, I'd rather they hit the fence now than the race. Oh, speaking of, there is a decent manager around in the what is that, second last corner.
And it looks like they're going for take 3 here. So in this lull before the race start, we've got Ziras, of course, starting from pole position. Goofball Antics sharing the front row with him, so he seems to be becoming quite a qualifying specialist. And Foley in third, we know how strong he is. What do you gentlemen predict for the races ahead tonight?
Well, for me, I reckon it's pretty hard to go past Ziras. If you just look at his results so far, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. It speaks for itself. And, I mean, I've been predicting Ziras every race so far, and I should apologise for that, but he's been fulfilling my expectations. Qualifying didn't give us a whole lot to go off. Goofball might get up there. Hopefully he'll get up there. Hopefully he'll be able to convert his qualifying paces and race paces. Birdo spins around in turn 1 there. Hopefully it doesn't happen on the actual race start. But I think Ziras will be first. Oh, there's a lot of spins actually happening. Brenton Foley too. Expect to see him on the podium a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to go past Ziras having pipped the I don't think it's necessarily global time, but the local time attack time for this track in practice and getting not far up in qualifying. Not as far ahead as he would expect it to be though. So it shows that that Sam Smith and Goofball are finding the speed there. It's a safe bet to go with Ziras, and I don't ever want to wish someone to not win, but for some diversity, I'm going to throw it towards Goofball, despite his self-injuring ways.
speaking of self-injuring, he's given himself a blood nose, we heard earlier today, by accident. Stuck his finger up there just a little bit too violently. And I hope you won't mind me sharing that with the world. Sorry if you didn't mean that for public consumption, Goofy. But if you're watching this back, I'm sure that that is not troubling you as much as it was before. As it looks like Brenton Foley's got himself a bit lost. Someone's pinched his grid spot as they go for yet another practice start. This is a few more than we normally see in these warm-up sessions.
Yeah, the back of the grid's looking a little confuddled as well. Disamage can't find where he's going to put his car. Oh, there we go. I think he's kind of...
Resist reversing back.
Yeah, I think Goofball will be a bit of an unknown this race for all the right reasons. He did net himself a podium at Laguna Seca last time out, as Nathers flies past.
Yeah, I thought
so
they were waiting for him, but he just drove straight through the middle of them.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. He's I'm guessing with a... Well, it didn't even have limited practice time. I don't know. I think he's just trying to get as many laps down as possible to rectify, to try and get as much chance of rectifying his... I mean, it's relatively average qualifying position.
He's not that far off the pace though. He may be starting towards the back of the grid, but only a tenth or two faster, and he'd be up there, 2 or 3 positions ahead of where he is. Looks like Madbird was the one they were waiting for.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's...
Good start from Sam Smith there. Got a great launch. So he'll be having to rectify that in the race itself. Unfortunately for him, he did get usurped by, my favourite words tonight, by 3 of them. In that knockout qualifying session. It was looking for a little while like no one would be able to beat him, as he's having all sorts of issues there and becomes the first casualty of this practice start. Spins it off. So as soon as I heap a little bit of praise on him, the left-hand drive Caterham spears off into the grass.
Well, the first... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, you go, Matt.
Well, the first practice start that was actually on the grid spots works pretty well. I didn't see anyone spin for the whole lap, so it looks like it's been going downhill since then. Hopefully it doesn't reflect on the actual race start, though.
Yeah, I think it may be sometimes a bit of merit to only doing 1 or 2 practice starts. If you keep doing them, it almost starts to become detrimental. You do too many practice starts, and you end up, like you say, Matt, getting worse at them.
Starts becoming a case of the more you think about it, the easier it is to make a mistake because you're concentrating almost too hard on the wrong things, maybe.
Yeah, you got to be cautious.
Goes headfirst into the barrier at the end of the last turn and knocks out
I think
many
they're getting impatient, gentlemen. I think they're getting impatient and they want to get racing for real.
Yeah, they're over 20 seconds left. They kept going. They're piling in turn 1. I think they're going to... No, they're not going to stop.
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big...
I got to 5 frames there.
So they've realised now that the timer is about to call time on this particular session, and they're all destroying their Caterhams, as sim racing affords them the possibility of doing without any expense or punishment. So a silence falls over Guaporé in the south of Brazil, because we'll be racing in a very, very short amount of time. It's probably a little bit late for anyone who hasn't taken a bathroom break as the siren signals the start of the race, and we'll be gridding up very, very shortly indeed.
Yep, there we go. I forget that I'm on push to talk. It'll be good to see this track. I think some of the guys mentioned in practice, it seems to be a archetype of South American circuits, that it's long straight, about the length of the width of the circuit, sweeping first corner, stop in the middle on some end sections. The only real change I see is some of the early ones we went to, where they substitute that first corner with a chicane instead of a sweeping corner. But yeah, it's a great looking track. I was sitting here in practice, I'm thinking, I really wish I had the processing power to be able to race, because this is like a fun little track. But yeah, they're on the grid now.
Yeah, I had a spin earlier today, and it was great fun throwing it around here. Even the tighter corners and the rapid left-right changes didn't feel even slightly awkward. It was great fun to drive around.
A lot of good camber on these some of the corners around this circuit. Helps steer the car as they get on with their warm-up lap. The first two are fairly late to the grid, not wanting to use any more fuel than they need. But Brody, do you want to take us through the grid on this short warm-up lap?
Let me just find the front. There we go. Alrighty, so first is Ziras. Yeah, pole man, but not by the expectation of the rest of them. Ziras, Tyler was going to get too disqualified. He did not leave his pit box, so not sure what's happening there for him. Second place is Goofball Antics. Great performance for him to get up to second. One of the guys doing a good job with there's somebody in the wall. That's Goofball on the wall.
They're restarting, I would imagine, because Tyrell got himself disqualified.
That would make sense. So I am going to abandon that and come back to that later.
We will come back to that. I didn't see what happened to Tyrell, but my assumption is that he didn't make the grid and then tried to drive out of the pit lane to join the grid before he was allowed to. And as we know from previous experience, both in AMSLs and Apex Rear Wing, if you do that, the game will disqualify you.
Well, he's on the grid now, thankfully. Bit of a contrast to the issues we were having last time out at Laguna Seca, where he wasn't able to make the grid at all because of the constant disqualifications. But now, he is on, he's out of the pit lane, and they're all starting to grid up again now. It's just Ziras, Goofball, and I think that's it that we're waiting for now.
Yep, Ziras and Goofball true to form, like they did in the first attempt at the start, staying in the pits for the longest possible time before making it onto the grid, but they have now done so. Tyrell on as well, so we have all of our 12 cars on the grid, which is fantastic.
Yeah, Ziras holding out for the longest time there. I was going to say something, and I remember what it was right until I hit the button to start talking. I've forgotten what it was completely, but yeah, if you want me to, we'll go back through this session again.
Please do.
In the, yeah, alrighty, so, as we said before, on pole, Ziras, on pole, but not by what you expect to be in timing and in lap time difference. Second, Goofball lines up alongside him on the front row. Great performance from Goofball to get himself up into second, and one of the 3 or 4 guys to really have a power final sector. Speaking of power final, actually, sorry, that's Brenton Foley coming up next. Yeah, also one of the guys, it seems to the final sector of this track seems to be where the speed is, but yeah, Brendan Foley up to third place for him to be sitting. Sam Smith, we also always see him near the podium, a little further down than usual, but yeah, sitting in fourth. He was the one who pioneered the power final sector. Yeah, and it's good to see him starting from there. Fifth is Resist. He is catching up to his brother in Ziras. Was sitting in second in practice for most of the time, came down to fifth in qualifying, but good result there. Birdo in sixth. Not a lot of time in practice for Birdo, so great conversion job of just getting straight in and building that speed up. Seventh, to Madbird, who was doing a good job playing Daddy Racer and helping all the little racers get faster in practice. Eighth for Josh Baggs in the BC Kids Racing Caterham. Ninth is Roadhog, and 10th is Decimage, both out of QV Racing. 11th is Netherrealmian, and 12th and debuting with us for a race with the Caterhams is Tyrell.
Very well done as the cars start to make their way into their grid boxes, and we'll be getting away very, very shortly indeed. So look at the angle that the Bagsy, he's pretty confident of a good start. I think he's a bit worried about how Berto's going to get off the line, but the lights are on, and in 2019 we are racing, and it's a pretty good start for Ziras. He seems to have got the jump there. Goofball Antics is going to come under some pressure from the car of Brendan Foley coming around the outside, and Sam Smith coming down the inside. So Goofball Antics again having some trouble from the front row, but he manages to hang on. And look at Resist coming through around the outside there. He had a mammoth start as well. Doesn't look like Bagsy got through on Birdo like he was hoping he would. In the end, he stays behind, but great start. No incidents so far. A little bit of grass.
Yeah, I was just to say that Bagsy running wide off the second turn curb there, and he's dropped I think 3 or 4 spots to run in its corner. They're that tight off the on the first lap.
We've got side-by-side action going on for the lead here. This is Ziras being put under some pressure from Brenton Foley. So this is the start that Brenton Foley was hoping for, so he could put Ziras under some pressure early. And Goofball Antics having held off the charge from Birdo. And Sam Smith up into 4th place. So Goofball Antics only losing 1 place off the start.
Yeah, it was a bit of a bog down for Goofball Antics at the start there. He had advantage there because, funnily enough, the even-numbered rows were on the inside of the track, so technically he had track advantage, although the grid spots are very staggered, so Ziras was still a little bit ahead. But as they come down the line now, it is Ziras who leads from Brenton Foley, Goofball Antics, Sam Smith in 4th, Resist, Birdo, Madbird, Decent Madge, Bagsy, Roadhog, Nethers, and Tyrrell brings up the rear in 12th.
We're starting to see the slipstream have a little bit of an effect here. Ziras had a pretty decent gap as they come off the final corner, but down the straight, Foley was able to close in with that slipstream.
Yeah, Foley all up in his wing mirrors now, but I think he's run wide a little bit. He's taken a wider entry than Ziras there for turn 2, and it's cost him a little bit. But that slipstream is bringing him right back up alongside.
Goofball Antics in tow, falling away, and Sam Smith as well. So it's going to be a train for the immediate future, as Resist hangs with Sam Smith and Birdo rounding out that train. Bit of a gap to the gentleman behind them. Madbird holding off D-Smash, but there you go, his rival. We've talked about it so much in qualifying, and is that going to be a look there for D-Smash down the inside? No, it's not. Up ahead though, it's all love. It's all's fair in love and war, as Birdo has a quick look down the inside of Resist, but nothing doing. And up ahead, it's Sam Smith in 4th place with Goofball Antics holding down 3rd. So Brenton Foley, what can he do? It's Ziras. He's being chased across the racetrack as Foley tries to go around the outside of turn 1. He had the good exit, and that's going to be a very, very wide entry into turn 1 for Brenton Foley. Ziras holds off that challenge.
Foley had to be very careful there under brakes because he was getting quite close to the edge of the grass, and if you had 2 wheels in the grass as he jumped on the brakes, it would have been nothing but trouble. He'd probably be in the fence by now. As it stands, the wide corner that he took there through turn 1 is probably the least of his issue. He's still in 2nd. It is up the inside of Ziras now. Oh, can't convert it, but he's there. He's right there, and Ziras knows about it.
He grabbed an inch of grass on the inside front left tyre, did Brenton Foley, and I think he just had to lift out of the throttle a little bit and slide him behind. But it's not over. Meanwhile, D-Smash has got past Madbird. That's a lot of grass there for Brenton Foley. My goodness gracious me. That has given the impetus to Goofball Antics, who swoops around the outside, and Brenton Foley with so much grass that he would probably be considered to be having a little bit more than just personal use in his possession.
Foley had a massive run through that sweeping right-hand bend. I thought he was going to rear-end Ziras through that corner, but it turns out he was just running in way too hot, and he understeered straight off the edge of the track. And thankfully, for his sake, he's been able to keep it to 3rd, just behind Goofball Antics. But that's just nothing but good news for Ziras as he peels away in 1st position.
Behind there, Birdo again unable to make his way past Resist, but is that the crucial break that Ziras needs out front? Goofball Antics is about 7/10 behind. Will he be able to mount a challenge as they both go on the grass? That's a huge moment again for Brenton Foley, and the cars behind are starting to get bottlenecked behind. Sam Smith trying to drive around the outside, and look at that. What a great camera angle. The helicopter showing just the advantage, the different parts of the circuit. How I thought there that Sam Smith was going to drive right around the outside of him, but in the end he just ran out of traction.
Yeah, a few hairy moments there for a few guys. Goofball had a big slide through that hairpin as well, but he's been able to keep a margin so fast purely because of Brenton Foley and Sam Smith's antics in 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, the top 6 are having, despite the massive battles they're having within themselves, they managed to pull a fairly healthy 2nd or so gap on a 5-car battle, a 4-car battle for 7th. But yeah, it's not stopped. They're back in the slipstreams, and we'll probably see some passes into this straight.
Oh, there's bump drafting now. Sam Smith is pushing Brenton Foley along the main straight in an attempt to catch up to Goofball Antics. He's thinking ahead.
Oh, that's a big lock up from Goofball. He's gone very wide, and Brenton Foley is now almost right on the back of him again.
Yep, Sam Smith was getting all sort of wobbles through there as well. I think the idea was to try and sort of very slyly assist Brenton into overrunning the corner, but in the end it was Sam Smith losing out time. But yeah, they're all keeping some happy gaps. So I see someone up there. That's Goofball nearly went around there on the curbing.
And we're seeing side by side for the last few corners have been Birdo and Resist, with Birdo looking like he'd made the position up on Resist, but Resist fighting back. And they went side by side up ahead. I think Foley's gone off again, and he spun. That's it for Brenton Foley. He drops to the back of the queue, and let's have a replay of that one.
Yeah, he just ran it wide off the corner, like he did the lap before, trying to get past Ziras, but it went further, and he just got a twitch up, and then it just looped it on him.
Miracle that no one else got collected in that incident. He actually grabbed a bit of grass on the inside, which is what sent him wide. Wouldn't have helped his guys had grass all over them as well. Brenton Foley seeming to be quite a fan of the green stuff today. And meanwhile, the fight up ahead is continuing to kick off with Birdo, Resist, and Sam Smith fighting. That's going to bring Foley all the way back into it.
Yeah, what a shame for Brenton Foley that was. He was getting the back end out a lot in the early stages of this race and getting a lot of grass, so it always seems like it was bound to happen. But like you said, he's still right on the back of this pack, and he's still a chance for a podium at the very least.
Dismayed if this will be Madbird and Desamage, who are having an absolutely ding-dong battle of their own side by side in the background of that shot, as we saw. But because we're focusing on this, those two are having an equally scintillating stoush over their positions.
So I've just been stunned into silence looking at some of the racing that's happening. Sam Smith and Resist having a good little battle now for third. Sam Smith's blocking off in all the right places. Resist has got speed, but he's got nowhere to use it.
Like
we haven't spoken a whole lot of Ziras so far this race, because he's currently 2.5 seconds ahead and showing no signs of slowing down. He's not being faced by any of the issues that any of the battle pack behind him has been looking at. He hasn't been spinning, he hasn't been locking up or anything like that. He's just been nothing short of perfect so far.
Checking out. We made that joke before. Look at this action going on for the podium. The final place on the podium, though, is absolutely manic. And Resist is fighting tooth or nail. He can sense his first Apex rear wing podium here. And look at that. A little bit of a mistake for Sam Smith. A little bit of a mistake there for Resist, though. And Birdo's up the inside. The next corner goes the other direction, though, and it gives the inside advantage to Resist. But Birdo will try and drive around the outside. Into the marbles though, and Resist gets the traction off the corner and stays ahead, and this has all brought Brenton Foley back into it. He's absolutely in the rear wheel tracks of Birdo, and he'll have a look in there as well, and this is absolutely kicking off.
Big lunge from Foley there. He's having a look, but he's not going to be able to do anything. I say that, and he's just gone up the inside of Birdo. He'll be on the outside to this part, but he'll definitely have the line into the penultimate turn, but no. Looks like he's jumped on the brakes a little bit early. He's side by side as they go through the final turn. He looks like he's in the box here to take fifth, and he has done so. Will he be able to keep that locked down by the time he gets to turn one? We can only wait and see.
There's a tighter line through the final corner for Brenton Foley though, so Birdo may well have a bit more speed, but it doesn't look like he's actually gaining. No, he's a bit later on the brakes through turn one. We've seen Brenton Foley sail wide into that particular part of the circuit, but Brenton Foley hangs on for now, so Birdo is getting shuffled back in this battle, and resistance has certainly paid dividends, because keeping Birdo behind has allowed that to happen. But now, unfortunately for him, it means that Foley's going to put him under some pressure.
Yeah, it looks like Foley's been a bit more conservative with his braking points since he had that spin earlier on, but it doesn't look to have hampered him at all, especially now that he's sitting directly behind all of his competitors. He can watch their every move, watch their every braking point, and act accordingly, and he's currently right on the back of Resist. He's going around the outside on the run down to the S's. He's got it for sure, I'd say, and there he goes, up in the fourth position.
It was a clinical manoeuvre. Got the scalpel out and said, I'm going to make the decision down here at whatever turn that was, and we're having now Resist coming under some pressure from Birdo as they go side by side through the final corner, in a bit of a mirror image of what we saw between he and Foley on the previous lap, as Foley put Sam Smith under pressure for the final place on the podium. Sets the fastest lap on the way. Look who's come alive. Enter Brenton Foley.
114.24. That's a cracker of a lap as he just goes past Sam Smith. Gives him a little bit of a nudge through turn one, but Brenton Foley is home safe in third for the time being, and now he's got to charge down Goofball. Antics is having a great race so far in second, and then hopefully make some ground up on Ziras as well towards the later stages of this race.
Wary about saying he's home safe. It's a long way to go yet in this race, but Brenton Foley has been up as high as second at one stage during this race, but now Sam Smith has a carrot dangling in front of him in the form of Brendan Foley. So what impact will that have on his charge towards what would be his first podium finish since, looking back, it's been a little while for Sam Smith. And when I say a little while, it was the previous race, but there's been a few weeks since the previous race.
And here we get to see between... Sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I was about to say, here we see those varied lines I was talking about earlier through the S's between Sam Smith and Brenton Foley. Obviously, Brenton Foley is trying to defend as much as he can, while Sam Smith is on the attack. But at the moment, they're still just in front. I think Sam Smith's going to bump drive down the main straight again. Yeah, he certainly is.
They're trying to get away from those behind him. Behind them there, which is Berto and Resist. Berto currently still leading that battle. Foley was wondering whether the extra speed from the bump draft might have meant that it would be easy to misjudge his braking point, but he got it done nicely that time around. And they're trying to catch up to Guaporé there, who's in the shot, not too far up the road. And just a quick mention of that battle that we talked about earlier that we haven't really had a chance to look at between Madbird and Decimage. Madbird getting back past Decimage off camera, but Decimage certainly putting him under some pressure. Than just a couple of tenths of seconds separating those two.
There was a great battle at the back there before between Roadhog and Bagsy as well, but just watching Roadhog, he had a technical issue and stopped on the track for about 2 or 3 seconds, and now he's dropped right back. He's just on 4 seconds behind Bagsy now, so he's out of the contention for 9th position there. But yeah, there's still a good battle happening between Decimage and Madbird for 7th position.
Foley's breaking away from Sam now, and he's going to be making goofball antics have pause for thought, because as they come across the line, I want to check their lap times, because I reckon Foley, having set the fastest lap on the previous occasion while passing people and then doing it again, 14.1, my goodness, that would have put him on pole position by some margin. 14.8 was what Goofball Antics did, so he's taken about 7/10 of a second out of Goofball Antics, says Brenton Foley.
He's absolutely on the charge, yeah. And Ziras is posting similar lap times, albeit about 3 or 4 tenths of a second slower than Foley's managing at the moment, but that's still helping Ziras out, especially with Goofball Antics lap times being even slower still. But this is going to shape up in the next few laps for a great battle between Foley and Goofball for 2nd place.
Yeah, I was just thinking on the...
Sorry, go on.
I was thinking on the topic of this, if it's going to increase the action more. It's a what is it? It's a sort of a 114 lap round here. They're not too far. At least Ziras is not too far off the back of Tyrol. And while we do only have 6 laps left, we've got 6 laps. They're very short 6 laps, but they've got some speed in the front. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see if maybe Ziras could catch Tyrol. He might be to use him as a roadblock to keep the very hard charging Brenton Foley off of him.
Don't expect that Tyrol, being the new guy, would want to make it too difficult for the new guys. I'm sure he'll jump out the way, but watching on the screen at the moment, Madbird and Decimage, an absolutely scintillating battle. Nose to tail, Madbird started out ahead, Decimage got past for a few laps, and then Madbird repassed him, but Decimage seeming to be fairly easily sticking to the back of Madbird for the time being, but unable to find a way past.
The horns are going off between 3rd and 2nd here. Goofball is now in 3rd position as Brenton Foley has finally gotten past.
Yeah, he stuck it down the inside at turn 1 and got the run there, but held it through around the outside of turn 2 to actually claim that spot. So, yeah, Foley's the man on the mission at the moment.
We missed that. You've got to interrupt me, boys, if you see this happening.
I wasn't just looking at myself, I'm afraid. I was looking at Ziras, checking how far he was behind the lap traffic of Tyrrell. But yeah, as soon as I went back to Goofball, he was already being passed by Foley.
Well, that means he's 1 up on where he qualified. And he was up as high as 2nd earlier on in the race. But a few little off-track excursions dropped him back. But he's fought back valiantly up into 2nd place. It's also where he sits in the championship. I don't know if he can do anything about Ziras. One would think not, because there's only 4 laps remaining, and he'd have to be more than a second a lap quicker than Foley. Last time around, than Ziras, I mean. Last time around, Foley, I guess he managed to pass Goof on that last lap, but he was slower than Ziras by the tune of about 4/10 of a second.
Well, Ziras is definitely past Tyrrell now in terms of lap traffic, so he's got nothing but clear air ahead of him. all the way back around to the start-finish line. So Foley will just have to dispatch Tyrrell when he gets the opportunity. But yeah, especially that last lap, it was hard to tell because, like you said, Foley was fighting some traffic there in goofball antics, and that would have hampered his lap time just a little bit. But yeah, Ziras was definitely faster that last time around.
Madbird and D-Smash are the closest two cars on the racetrack, and they've been absolutely glued to one another for the past 10 laps or so. Madbird staying ahead at the moment. They've had a few close battles like this, with Madbird putting up with an enormous amount of pressure from the car behind. How much longer can he hold on? As Ziras sets the fastest lap of the race, so he wanted that accolade for himself and denies Brenton Foley, for the time being at least, the accolade of fastest lap of the race. But this is very, very close now between Madbird and D-Smash. Madbird going to the inside to defend, and D-Smash trying to go around the outside. He'll have the favoured line. There'll be a bit more grip there under braking, but Madbird, if he can keep it tight to the inside, will be able to block that route off from D-Smash. But it's an absolutely thrilling fight, as Resist also manages to get past Berto. Those two having a battle that is equally entertaining.
Great battle for fifth there. Just as you were speaking, Resist had a huge lunge down into turn one, locked them up so bad. I reckon he would have a flat spot. I reckon he'd be driving on 50-cent pieces right now on those front wheels, but at the moment he's sitting in fifth, and he's already starting to draw a little bit of a gap from Berto, so they're having a great scrap once again.
They absolutely are. It's hard to pick between these guys. Who is the stronger car in both battles? For the time being, it's Madbird fighting back from D-Smash and Resist fighting back from Berto, but as soon as you get past the other car, it seems to be able to react with that carrot and is just able to fight back and just use the other car's braking points and just go that little bit further into the corner before hitting those brake pedals and accelerator pedals, and then use the slipstream down here, as we can see D-Smash using degrade effect. Illustrate my point. The gap was so much bigger coming out of the final corner. Madbird, again, he seems to be pretty adept at that inside line now, blocking off any route D-Smash might be thinking of taking.
Yeah, Madbird, he's one of those drivers that I've raced against him before, and you kind of you love to hate them in a way. They're great racers, but they're pain in the ass because they stick themselves on every apex that exists on the track, and you cannot pass them worth a damn. I was stuck behind one of these guys that's a high-karting race for, I think, what was it, maybe 20 or 30 laps, including pits. It was an hour race, including a pit stop. We pitted on the same lap. I gave him a bump push out of the pits, and I was stuck behind him the entire race. I would have thrown my helmet at him had I not been friends with him.
Well, my experience with Madbird is that he'll do that, but he'll never go across the line. He'll never cross the line in terms of blocking excessively. I think he does a very good job of being on the part of the racetrack that you don't want him to be on, but at the same time, he won't chop your nose off or move twice or anything like that.
Well, 2 laps ago, Foley did make a little bit of a margin back on Ziras at the front here. He was able to go up 2/10 at the end of lap 14, but now the margin has definitely dropped back down. It's going to be too little too late, as Ziras is now 6 full seconds ahead of Foley. So it's a lonely old race for both Ziras and Foley at the front, and even Goofball, you could say, and Sam Smith. It's getting quite distant at the front there. So I think they'll be pretty happy to settle into the current positions they are. It'll be a great result for Goofball. Foley will be very happy with where he's in second, especially after that off-track excursion earlier. And Ziras, well, he's Ziras.
Madbird started to make a little bit of a break on D-Smash just in recent times, but Berto, meanwhile, has got back past Resist for 5th place, and he's starting to put a bit of distance between himself and Resist. So I wonder if he's just kept his tyres alive just a little bit more towards the back end of this race, or maybe Resist his concentration levels dipping just a little bit and falling off the back. But those two having an absolutely scintillating battle. Is there a last lap surprise in this race between these two battles that we're looking at?
I think it's a possible, yeah, it's just going to pull a gap, but Madbird and D-Smash have pulled together once again. I think bumper to bumper down the bumper to bumper. Oh, there's a jigsaw under braking, going too wide now through turn 1.
Oh, this is about as close as we've seen. As I just called it, Madbird had built a gap, but Decimage has caught all the way back up, and this is nervous times for both of them because they're about as close as they've been throughout the entire race, and it's all or nothing between these two. Absolutely bumper to bumper. That looks like a bit of bump drafting. I don't know why you'd want to be doing that on the final lap. Is that a bit deep for Decimage, or is he going to drive around the outside? We're waiting for the race leader. It'll be any time soon. We really don't want to cut away from this battle because it is absolutely fascinating, but Ziras has just got one corner remaining before victory, and he's sliding through the final corner, enjoying himself. He has a 7-second lead. He takes yet another victory. The start 29 exactly the way he wants to continue. And look at this. Brenton Foley has come under an enormous amount of pressure from Goofball Antics across the line, and he only just holds him off. So I don't know what happened there as Sam Smith finishes in 4th place. Berto's going to hold off Resist. They had a good battle. And meanwhile, Madbird has done an absolutely scintillating job to keep Decimage behind. Decimage probably going to be quite frustrated with that race. It was a great battle, though. And Josh Bagsy finishing in 9th ahead of Roadhog. And Nether coming across in 11th, the last man on the lead lap. And Tyrol finishing his first race with Apex Reeling.
Yeah, I didn't want to...
Go.
Sorry. I didn't want to interrupt earlier because the battle between Decimage there was so scintillating, but yeah, Brenton Foley made a big mistake on the second last lap. He was a whole second behind Ziras' lap time that time around, so Goofball was able to get right on the back of him, and he was looking for every opportunity to pass in that last lap. Ultimately, he couldn't get it done, and Foley was able to drive a very defensive lap there to hold on to his second position. Sorry, Roddy, I'll let you get back to your point there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, right at the end there, Decimage had 2 bites of the cherry there. It's at the back of Madbird, and both times came away with unfulfilled taste buds.
Well, take nothing away from the race winner, Ziras. He absolutely controlled that race, and fully deserving victor. He's really shown ominous signs at the beginning of the series back in Curitiba in round 1, and he's gone on in that same vein throughout. So the New Year's celebration's doing nothing to dent that. Brenton Foley, well, that's the form book really for his... that basically is his season in a nutshell, up and down, but in the end finishing in 2nd, ahead of Goofball Antics, who had a pretty steady old race. His 2nd podium of the season, so that's pretty good. He's getting better throughout this season as it goes on. Sam Smith, 4th place is another solid result for him. Berto, it puts him clear of Berto by 2 points actually, finishing ahead, and Resist. Well, I think he can be pleased with that. It's his best result of the season, 6th place, and it could have been 5th. I'm sure he would have been wanting more, but I think that that race that he's done today is proof that he will be getting better. I think Madbird will be pretty satisfied with that race. 7th is not his best result of the season, but he finished ahead of Decimage, who is one of his main rivals, and I think he'll be pretty happy with the way that race panned out, keeping him behind. And the results have gone away from my screen now, so that's all I've got to work with for now.
Yeah, almost all the guys, except for a couple down the back, were really made to work their position. So even if it was down on their best or their average, it was a good race to watch, and it would have been a great race to be a part of, with the exception of people like Decimage, who just couldn't get past the bloody Nikon car. I say that in love of... I was actually... I was having a bit of a jab at Madbird early in the week for the lack of TV time he was getting for his driving, but he's come back with that one. He's put in a show that's I think we inadvertently gave that battle more time than we've given the leaders, and that doesn't happen often. But that was some great racing.
Well, I think he'd probably be disappointed not to get more TV time, considering just how close that race was between he and Decimage for the majority of that race. It was just that the podium battle going on between the likes of Brenton Foley, Sam Smith, Berto, and Resist was just so great, and Goofball Antics was so great with 4 and 5 car trains and one tiny little mistake costing you 3 or 4 positions, that it wasn't until the latter half of that race that we were able to focus on it.
Yeah, it's great racing, and it's good to see it all playing down the field. No, I was distracted earlier. I was distracted looking at the stream. We seem to have lost Brenton Foley, and we very temporarily had Nether in our chat.
There you go. Well, we'll wait till the end of the night to conduct any interviews with anyone, but for the time being, we're just in a little bit of a holding pattern with a second warm-up session before we get away with race 2, with the order starting as they finished in race 1. So that gives us a quick chance to have a short break, and then on the other side we'll be back with all the action from race 2. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to live action from Guaporé. This is Apex Rear Wing's 5th round of the Caterhams series, the first race for 2019, as the cars get ready to grid up. And surprise, surprise, Ziras is going to be starting the race from the first grid spot on the grid. Pole position after winning the first race of the night, and behind him will be Brenton Foley. That is not Brenton Foley. That is the guest car, so I'm not sure what's going on there.
Oh, we lost Brenton Foley there in the server reset.
Looks like a server reset, so there must have been some technical issues somewhere causing that to be required.
I'm not sure if it's related to... I've tweaked the graphics a little bit, basically, so that I see nothing but the cars, and it's worked. I actually could see all 12... Why not? I could see all 12 cars, I think, qualifying, and I saw parts of all 12 cars in sort of location-based segments across race 1. I was getting a whole bunch of suspension components just there, so I'm not sure whether that was related to it.
Yes, I think maybe 2019 might be a good year to invest in some better equipment.
Oh, absolutely. I was maybe 12 hours off of buying a decent mid-grade PC. Had I checked Facebook the day before on that listing, I would have got it. But oh well. Yeah, definitely need to work on this though.
Fair enough. Well, that gives us a short chance to shoot the breeze, I suppose, while we, I believe that Ziras will be resetting the grid in the order that the cars finished in race 1 before they get away for race 2. So we talked a bit, I guess, about your Christmases before. Good New Year's for both of you?
Yeah, mine was pretty quiet. Went down to a mate's place in Camberwell, and we thought we'd be able to watch the Melbourne City fireworks from there. Unfortunately, the view wasn't fantastic. We just saw a faint glow of red and various other colours over the hill. But it was a good excuse to catch up with some mates, have a few drinks, and have a good time.
Absolutely. Rody?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I think I'm 21 going on 30. I spent all the time leading up to it. I think I had a TV meeting of some sort. The local fireworks went off and I just couldn't really give a damn. And I spent, I think I was up to 3 o'clock January 1st editing videos. So I'm completely skipping the whole enjoying New Year's and just like, yeah, but I'm doing important things. So yeah, New Year's was spent editing new videos.
Maybe you'll make up for it in years to come.
Maybe I will.
We've rolled over into another warm-up session, so still appear to be a little bit of time away from a race start itself. Good detail.
We do have everyone on the server though this time around, which is good.
That is a good. That is a good thing. There's a good detail on this racetrack, since it is a Reza default track. Comes with the game, so it doesn't have the same foibles that Laguna Seca has, that gave us so much grief last time out. But you can see some of the people on the bridge there drinking their little Slurpees, taking photos with their smartphones and waving. Oh, there's two of the same person by the looks of it. So it's the fun of looking at game graphics. I don't know who Aurelio Bautista Felix is, but I'm sure he is someone of great note in Brazil. As we roll over into a race session.
So yeah, looks like we might finally be getting this second race on the road.
Literally and figuratively.
Well, so far everyone seems to be gridding up pretty well with no real issues, which is good to see.
A bit earlier than we're used to seeing someone like Ziras grid up there. Goofball Antics taking his time still, as he did in the first race of the night.
Alrighty, looks like everyone's on the grid and getting ready to get going on their formation lap.
That they are. Matty, would you like to take us through the grid for race number 2?
So, pole position once again is Ziras from that outside lane at the very front. He had a great race and just checked out, won by 6 seconds over Brenton Foley. He had a great comeback after the off-track excursion that he had in race 1. Goofball Antics converted his second position qualifying result to third, which is great for him. His second podium of the season so far. Sam Smith got a little bit mixed up in those front battles, but he starts 4th now in front of Birdo and Resist, who are having some fantastic battles of their own. Above the Master and the Apprentice, Madbird and D-Smadge in 7th and 8th, who are having a grand old scrap. D-Smadge wasn't able to get through, but I reckon he'll be able to get past and maybe even further in race 2. Bagsy starts 9th next to Roadhog. They were having some great battles as well. It's just pairs and pairs and pairs of battles all the way around. Nethers is starting 11th, and Tyrrell in the guest cart is 12th after he finished 1 lap down last race. Hopefully he'll be able to stay on the back of the pack a little bit more this time, as he's got a bit more experience with the track. But yeah, that's Tyrrell, and that rounds out the grid.
Yeah, I'm suitably impressed with Tyrrell's first race. He might not have the pace yet, but that'll come with time. But he stuck it out and he finished the race, and I don't think it'll be too much longer before we start seeing him mixing it with some of the other guys ahead of him.
Yeah, I'll hop back to the Sand Trucks race as one that's been floating in my mind a lot. Yeah, it's the same thing there. He wasn't the quickest, but he kept himself clean. He learned off other cars, and that race was highly attritional, and he managed to gain a couple of spots because of it. This shouldn't happen the same way in this race unless Foley is aiming to get enough grass to open a dispensary.
Goofball antics there, just having a bit of angle to the outside of the track before, but the lights are on. They get away fairly quickly around here. And for the second time tonight, we are racing. The smoke rises up ahead. Goofball antics with a little bit of a wiggle there, and he's coming under pressure from Berto. Meanwhile, at the front, Ziras has cleared out ahead of Brendan Foley, and Sam Smith down the inside of Goofball antics. Goofball antics with a better second phase of that start, in fact. Drives around the outside of Sam Smith. Those two going absolutely side by side through the first sequence of corners. Big little slide there from Goofball antics, and I know that's an oxymoron. Berto now holding up Resist, who's coming under pressure from both sides, with the two warring drivers from race number 1 again going side by side, Madbird and Desamage.
Bit of a hairy start there, a few guys going 3 wide there, but everyone's kept it nice and tidy as Brenton Foley is now right on the back of Ziras as they run down to the big sweeping right-hander, for lack of a better name for that corner.
Big sweeping right-hand is pretty good, I think. Can Ziras break away like he did in race 1, and Brenton Foley stay with him without making the errors that cost him so dearly?
Yeah, that's pretty much what Foley's main aim will be here. He still has Ziras drove away in race 1, and by the time he was free of the pack to get the pace to try and catch him, he just ran out of tyre. So he is going to want to hang on the back of him and hopefully force some errors and little mistakes from Ziras. That all he has to do is get in front of Ziras and then just park on apexes, and it puts Ziras on the back foot for a change.
Sorry, Rody. That Goofball antics having an absolute nightmare first lap. We didn't see exactly what happened, but he was up there in 3rd place ahead of Berto, but now he's mired back in the pack in 8th place, so he's had an off somewhere, and that's cost him quite badly. Somewhere along the line, he's just had an absolute nightmare of a corner.
Well, speaking of Berto, he's absolutely come to play. He's currently battling for 3rd position with Sam Smith, who goes up the inside. Oh, it's very close to the front too.
Yeah, it is absolutely. Brenton Foley marginally was in front, but Ziras got back through. Let's catch a replay of that, because that is absolutely worth seeing. The battle between Berto and Sam Smith in the background that you were talking about. But Brenton Foley trying to drive around the outside and very, very, very nearly got it done. But we just seen on that corner, the inside seems to work better coming out of that second part of the corner.
Yeah, it's all about trying to pick where the pace is on the track, and yeah, he gets so close there to getting past, but Ziras was just able to get the driver off the corner. But he's got a long straight now to turn 1. I think he's too far back to get a run this lap, but he's definitely making the pace up on him.
Now, Desamage coming under pressure from Goofball antics, trying to recover from his bad start. That gives Madbird a little bit of a reprieve. I think he's probably gearing up for another long race of trying to keep Desamage behind him. I'd hate to think of the state of his chair, because I imagine after race 1 it would be particularly sweaty, and that's a big moment for Desamage there, and that is exactly the break that Goofball antics needs as he dives down the inside. No, he doesn't. He thinks better of that. There's so very nearly contact there with Madbird, and Goofball antics is going to think about that one another time, but it doesn't look like he's going to hang around.
Yeah, I was picturing.
Sorry, go on. I'll let you go this time.
Okay. Yeah, I was picturing like triple exclamation marks popping up in Madbird's mirrors there, with Goofball having such a deep dive on him. He was so close to one tap there would have unsettled Madbird, and it would have been all over Red Rover for his potential battle with Desamage.
Yeah, Desamage a fair way behind as it stands. That's very, very wide there for Goofball antics, and he rejoins just ahead of Desamage. Desamage is going to get that position by the looks of it back. Ziras sets the fastest lap. He hasn't broken away just yet. 0.6 of a second the advantage over Brenton Foley. Sam Smith still in 3rd, fairly comfortably at the moment from Berto. And in fact, Resist has just passed Birdo there. So let's have a look at that side-by-side action going on there. Resist looking like he made the move around the outside of turn 1 and 2. Whoops, let's have a look at that. On the replay, coming down. Oh, no, he went down the inside. So that seems to be the option favoured because the inside has so much more grip by the looks of it. And that was a pretty clinical move from Resist.
Yeah, it was, I just caught the end of it live, and yeah, it was a brilliant move to get down the inside and keep the car not too far to the left that he caught the curve, and not too far to the right that he caught the wheels of the car he was passing. But yeah, brilliant car play for him to get that position.
Birdo trying to drive around the outside there of the right-hander, and he goes down the inside of the left-hander. He set that move up absolutely perfectly, and there was nothing Resist could do about that. What a move from Birdo. Locking it up, but he slides wide into the penultimate corner, and Resist's going to get back up underneath him. There are all sorts of different wide lines. Madbird is coming into this battle as well. They talked a lot about that during the practice, that is, but it's side by side, and Birdo's got the inside into the first corner. Madbird doesn't know where to go. It's 3 wide.
No, they're going 3 wide. No.
Madbird 2 in 1. Madbird's going to get 2 in 1. Unbelievable racing.
Birdo did very well to hold on there. He just spun out. He was in the middle of that sandwich there. He took to the grass a little bit on the inside, but he's made his way back onto the track. He's currently signaling a big crash. That's Roadhog around. Oh, there's a couple of guys around. That's massive. There's a yellow flag in that section of the track.
We're going to catch that in a moment. We're just looking at a replay of that little touch there between Resist and Berto. Hard to call that one. Madbird, let's try and look for Roadhog. And got tagged by his teammate. So D-Smash won't be particularly pleased with himself, I expect. That was a really tricky incident. Very, very difficult to call. I'm sure they'll look at that one post-race. So
yeah, it looked like possibly Birdo, I think it was. Looked like he checked up right in the middle of the pack, and they all just split around him, and they were right at the entry of a corner, and they all kind of had no idea what to do. And yeah, teammate pinging off teammate. That's love to be a fly on the wall in that debriefing.
The cleanest nose in the paddock belongs to Madbird at the moment, by virtue of staying out of all that trouble and making an audacious 3 wide overtake down the inside at turn 1. He's in 4th place, but Goofball Antics is going to try and drive around the outside. He's sailed deep and into the marbles, and Madbird's going to retain the position for the time being. How much longer can he hold on to it? Madbird would be pretty happy with 4th at the moment, but is he content with that, or does he want to fight? The trouble is there's a gaggle of cars not too far behind who are eager to make amends for wrongdoings.
Well, meanwhile at the front, Brenton Foley has been glued to the back of Ziras for the whole race. It's bringing back shades of the Place City circuit duels we saw between these two, and they've both been making a little bit of errors here and there. Brenton Foley's been piling on the pressure at huge amounts. They run down to the S's now. Brenton Foley's going to have a dive on the inside. He's not going to be able to get anything done there, but he's been taken to the grass a little bit throughout this race. Ziras has been locking up a lot and running wide through some of the corners, so at the moment it is neck and neck at the front.
There's a lot of crisscrossing that we saw just before. There are all sorts of different lines working around this fantastic Guaporé circuit in the south of Brazil. And Brenton Foley with an excellent tow down the main straight. The favoured line is the inside, it would appear. Oh, but Ziras opens the door just a little bit, and Foley needs no second invitation as he sails down the inside, or does he? Foley, is he going to go down the inside, or Ziras going to hang it around the outside and hold on to the position? That is something that hasn't been seen particularly often tonight, staying on the outside and retaining the position. There's not a lot of grip out there, but if anyone can make that work, it's Ziras who can. But side by side, it is not over yet, gentlemen.
Yeah, that wasn't the first time he tried for a run up the inside into turn 1 either. Just before the 3 wide action we saw earlier, they were having a red hot crack at it again. Foley had to take to the outside line though and wasn't able to get anything done, but it is so close right now. It's unbelievable as they head into the big sweeping right hand turn, which I now know has a name. It is called Radiador.
Radiador. Well, that sounds about as exciting as it is. And Foley, an opportunistic move down the inside there. Absolutely wheel to wheel with Ziras, but he just can't make it stick. The track goes left and right, then left and right. You get the inside to one corner, and then you're hung out on the outside for the next corner, and it just makes it so difficult to get past and keep the other guy behind you.
there was a little bit of contact there, so Ziras definitely knows Foley is there now, and he knows that he means business. He's trying to get another toe up the end. I reckon he's going to have a very late lunge, or is he? Nope, he's going to play it safe as they're going to turn 1. Oh, that's a big lock-up from Ziras. He runs it wide just a little bit, and Foley is now right on the back as they go through the apex of that corner. What's going to happen throughout the rest of this lap, and indeed the rest of these laps? This is a fantastic battle at the front.
You better believe it is. Foley has he really showed what he's made of in the first race with his overtaking back through the field after making some I want to say uncharacteristic errors, but he does push the limit from time to time, and it does mean it can happen. But this time he's been absolutely on it from the start of the race right through to lap 8. Can you believe we're not even halfway through yet, but Ziras has got his hands full if he wants to win this one.
Yeah, I was looking at the back. Goofball I meant to go up to your attention earlier. Goofball just stuck it in the inside of Madbird at the super fast right hand long sweepy thingy. Yeah, he was having a go at him. He was just pecking away at the back of the car, but Madbird was blocking him all over, and it was like you're trying to shove a round peg into a square hole. But I think he's eventually just went for it. He's been getting. I was a little impatient with him, and I can see why. The driving does that to you. But yeah, he's got through now, and he's got the pace. Whether we'll catch Sam Smith in time, I don't know.
Brendan Foley just passed the fastest lap of this race so far, a 1:14.299, and he had another look up the inside at turn 1 there as Ziras is running it wide all over the shop, but Ziras is somehow doing a very good job to keep it in first, but Brendan Foley is having a great run to the hairpin through the kink. He's on the outside this time though. Ziras has done a great job to block there as they go through the tunnel, as this corner is referred to. I'm learning a lot of history about this track right now. This is a great time to do it too. They're running down to Radiador once again, and Brendan Foley is once again right on the back as they go past the corner markers that thankfully have not been knocked down so far, as a lot of those guys use them as good markers. But oh, look at this! Look at the lines.
To follow
That's
so
almost too
closely
wide
through that corner. It's unbelievable. Before Foley set that fastest lap, Ziras did set the fastest lap to that point, and just 0.03 of a second slower than Foley. So Foley might be marginally quicker at the moment, but not by a lot.
Yeah, this lead pack battle starting to frame my nerves. They just don't let up, and Ziras he's coming under incredible pressure right now with Foley going to the inside.
This looks like a good opportunity for Brendan Foley. He's up alongside, and more than alongside. He's marginally ahead of Ziras as they go through turn 1 and 2, and this is his best opportunity to make the move stick. But Ziras is just so strong, even on the edge of where the marbles stop. He seems to be able to get just enough purchase to continue to drive around the outside, carry that corner speed, and that is just what other cars have not been able to do, and that is the reason that Foley is having so much difficulty. But around the outside, Foley tries this one. He has a little bit of a lose though, and that is the difference. That was the same scenario through turn 1 and 2 that Ziras found himself in. Foley found himself in that scenario just then on the outside, and he just didn't quite have enough grip to carry it through.
Turn 1 has been deceptively difficult all these past 2 races for people to get overtakes done there, because not only do you do have a very, very long sweeping left-hander, and you'd think you'd be able to get a lot of passing done, but the corner immediately after is a short sweeping right. So if you've got that outside line, which is evidently very easy to hold on to, or maybe that's just Ziras' case, because when he's driving anything it looks easy.
He's the only one who can do it. Well,
that's exactly right, yeah.
I don't know what happened there. That's unfortunate, because he was running really, really strongly. So he's lost some. He's got some damage, and I get the feeling that he's hit the wall somewhere.
Yeah, I was about to mention that there's been a big reshuffle behind the lead pack. Bagsy up to 6th, Never up to 7th. Road Dog, I keep imagining in 9th. Something's gone down there.
Yeah, he's been hit by Birdo. He's been hit by Birdo, okay. And there's going to be words exchanged between those two, I think, because that has put Madbird out of the race, and it was a very strong race for Madbird up to that point. And
yeah, he was
feeling Birdo's going to have a penalty coming his way.
Yeah, he was doing such a great job of holding Goofball off, and yeah, he such a great race. But yeah, that's not going to be pretty in the garages afterwards.
Not at all. So very, very disappointing. But Madbird showed just how. I think up to that point, I've got to say that's the best race I've seen from Madbird this season, and it's just unfortunate to come to nothing for him. Disamaj, I guess the only saving grace for him is not having a great race himself down there in 9th place, but does mean that Decimage is going to claw some points back as as Ziras sets the fastest lap of the race.
Well, I'm down in the pit lane at the moment, and I've just called Madbird as he's on his way back from the medical centre. I think I've got a microphone on him. Madbird, what happened out there, mate? Hello, Madbird.
Hello. Yeah, you know, it was one of those things. I don't know. I started to move towards the apex as I was braking, and I think Birdo pulled out behind me to try to go for the inside at the exact same moment. It was all kind of we were having a banter while we were doing it, so we probably weren't focusing as much as we should have. And yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know how intentional. Well, obviously it wasn't intentional. I don't know how much blame can be laid at his feet or my feet. Really, I think it was a bit half a dozen of one and 6 of the other. So, you know, it's disappointing because I looked up and I was in 4th, and I was, oh man, like this might actually end up being good. But then, yeah, not so. But I was pretty happy with myself defending first race and that one up until that point. So onwards and upwards.
Well,
onwards and upwards indeed.
Very sorry, Matty. A very, very diplomatic response from you there, Madbird. I, in the commentary box, probably had a few more words to say about it than that. But let's talk us through that absolutely mega 3-wide overtake down into turn 1. I bet that felt pretty good.
That felt, yeah, as I came out the last corner, and I'd sort of been catching Resist and Birdo, but they were getting a toe off of each other down the straight every time, so I wasn't being able to make any leeway. And then I think Birdo made a bit of a mistake, and so Phil managed to get up alongside him, and I suddenly realised that neither of them had a toe and I had a toe, and neither of them was going to the inside. So I thought, you know what, this is just going to happen, and I flung it up there. And I believe I made quite an idiot of myself, screaming over the microphone as I did it. But still, yeah, I didn't think I was going to make that stick, to be honest. And then I'm not sure who tapped who. I think Phil might have tapped Birdo or something, because then they redressed a position or something. But yeah, I didn't see that coming, and I'm quite happy with myself for getting it stopped in time.
There you go, one for the show reel.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. A fantastic race up to that point where you were unceremoniously punted out of the race.
Thanks, boys. Good call, sir.
Yes. Surprisingly cheerful, Madbird, considering what happened to him there. But I'm sure he'll take from that race how well he was performing prior to the incident with Birdo as a positive.
While we were hearing from Madbird there, Sam Smith managed to sneakily sneak his way up into 3rd position just in front of Goofball. They're having a nice old battle here as well. They both lock up a bit into the tunnel, rather, on the run down to the radio door. Goofball's at a big slide though, and it looks like Sam Smith is going to get a good run, and he's going to stay in his 3rd place. Did
you say that Goofball had actually got in front of Sam momentarily?
He had at one point, yeah. He was running in 3rd position. I think down the main straight is where Sam Smith got him. Just had a big lunge up into the 1st corner. And it looks like Goofball has gone back into 4th position now, and Sam Smith is back in 3rd.
Well, he did have the pace to close that gap in the first place, so he may well come back at Sam a second time. Meanwhile, Resist and Bagsy are having a good little stoush over 5th place, and this would be, if I'm not mistaken, Bagsy's best result, regardless of whether he prevails in this battle. Just looking back, yeah, his best result is 7th. Bagsy, so 6th place would be a pretty good result for him, but 5th would be even better.
Yeah, just looking back down through the pack. Sorry there, Matt. Looking at the end of the pack, they're all by the answer marking 2 by 2. We've got Ziras and Foley battling, Sam Smith and Goofball, Resist and Bagsy. Back behind them, Roadhog is getting challenged somewhat by Nether. So whether Roadhog's carrying a little bit of damage or Nether's finally getting a grip with his Caterhams, and then behind them, Birdo and Tyrol, Birdo and Decimage are having a close battle as well.
Certainly are, actually. It's been side by side for some parts of this lap. We've just been catching a few shots of that in the last half a lap. So far, Decimage holding Birdo off. Doesn't sound like Madbird was that bothered about the incident earlier on. I'm sure it will probably still will get investigated as of course a rear end collision should be, especially if it puts someone out of the race. But it doesn't look like Berto's had the best race since that incident anyway, since he's down there in 10th place.
No, I think Berto might be happy in a way with where he's at, but I think he might be carrying some damage as well, because he was running up a lot, not so much a lot, but he was running out higher in the field in race 1, so I think some of the cars carrying damage from that turn 2 kerfuffle.
A bit of a moment there for Josh Baggsy, just losing the rear end down into the first corner, and that gives Resist a little bit of a reprieve on the penultimate lap of this race. Resist running quite strongly in 5th place, and I guess he was aided a little bit by the incidents that occurred ahead of him, but he had his own issues in race 1 after running strongly and losing that position after the battle with Berto. But he's doing pretty well at the moment, and 5th place is a continuation of the upward trajectory that he's showing, and would be his best result of this season.
Well, speaking of Berto, he's currently involved in the closest battle throughout the field so far, albeit for 9th position with D-Smash. He had a bit of a lunge down turn 1. It's a very popular spot to try past, but he did have the outside line. He's got the inside, possibly? No. D-Smash is going to defend into the S's now, as they turn in now. But, yeah, they're having a good old scrap there for 9th position, and it could be anyone's game there.
That's a good fun little stoush, this one. Another one of my overused words for tonight, and Berto going very, very, very wide through the penultimate corner, but it means he gets a nice good exit off the final corner. I reckon he might be close enough to just get a little bit of a toe down the main straight as they start their final lap of this race. By goodness, that has shot by.
Yeah,
more contact. Sorry, good. The Guaporé once again serves up some more controversy at turn 1 there, as D-Smash gets a little tag, not quite as big as the serve that he got from Madbird, and Berto just tagging the back of D-Smash there.
Yeah, I was going to say, after that boil over mid-race, it's sort of been a where to look, and the problem is where to look. There's battles everywhere on the track. We're coming around the final corner now. Ziras, I think, less a case of outlasting Brenton, more a case of outlasting Brenton's tyres as he takes the win. Brenton probably close behind him in 2nd.
Yeah, Ziras was absolutely dominating the end of that race, setting fastest lap after fastest lap. Tyrell only just going a lap down there in the closing stages, so he can hold his head high with that one. An improvement over race 1, as we see Sam Smith finishing ahead of Goofball Antics to round out the podium. Goofball Antics had a valiant effort to try and salvage that podium, but in the end he wasn't able to. Resist, fantastic job, 5th place. Great battle there with Josh Baggsy towards the end, and Baggsy is well getting his best result of the season, so well done to him. Roadhog in 7th place. A lot of people getting their best result of the season. This is Roadhog's equal best with 7th place, and Nether in 8th place, his best result of the season. Not so much for D-Smash finishing in 9th place. He'll take solace in the fact that his main rival Madbird didn't finish. Berto in 10th, and we'll already covered off Tyrell in 11th with Madbird not finishing.
Yeah, it was a great finishing battle there between Baggsy and Resist. Baggsy was pulling right alongside at the line there, and I reckon there was only a fraction of a car length in it as they pulled alongside. So, disappointing for Baggsy that he wasn't able to get that 5th place. It was so tantalisingly close, but 6th is still a great result for him.
Foley got so close at the end there, but I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think he's run out of tyres. I just had a look. The gap between Resist and Baggsy then was 0.067 seconds, something like that. It was really bloody tight, and had the start finish line been 100 metres down the track, we've seen a very different result.
Absolutely right. So we're just having a quick look at. I'm currently having a quick look at the points just to see how it all plays out there. With Roadhog finishing in 7th and Nether in 8th. I'll be able to give you an update very, very shortly indeed as to how that affects everyone. Berto, of course, I would say he and Madbird, probably the big losers out of the second race tonight, with close battles that they were involved in. Unfortunately, they are going to be hurt by the loss of points that they experience with the incidents that they had. But Ziras extends his advantage out at the front. He moves to 245 points with another perfect round for him. If I'm not mistaken, he also got the fastest lap again in that particular race because he was just so consistently fast throughout tonight's racing. Brenton Foley, his second place in a row, 159 points. He's well clear of the man in third, which is Sam Smith, who's moved back up the order into third place. Lewis Wedding dropping down to sixth with the huge number of points on offer, and he's actually missed the last 2 rounds, and that costs him dearly. So Goofball Antics up in fourth place ahead of Berto, and then Madbird remains ahead of D-Samaj. The gap pretty much the same as it was at the beginning of the evening. Just a little bit of ground that D-Smash has made up with the points haul in the second race. That was 11 points at the beginning of the night, and that has gone down to 7 points. So that looks like one that's set to rage on throughout the year. Resist with 77, Bagsy on 74, Roadhog 45, Nether 27, and Pablo on 19.
Well, race winner of both races there, Ziras, joins us in the booth now, and it was a great weekend, or it was a great round from you as always. A perfect win and a win for you. But at the start of that second race there, it looked like you were under a lot of pressure from Brenton Foley.
Yeah, it's becoming a sort of a theme, I guess, with Brenton. He really picks up his pace towards the end of the first race, and then dogs me most of the second race. Yeah, full props to him for having that pace.
Well, Brenton joins us up in the booth as well, and Brenton, unfortunately, you had a bit of an off-track excursion in the first race as well, but you were able to recover fantastically. And yeah, how close do you think you were to the win in the second race there?
I knew that I couldn't win it in the first half of the race because with the way the cars work with the draft and how strong Ziras is, I know he pretty much would have just got me back the next lap. But yeah, I made a little mistake and just lost probably half a second to 6/10 and knocked me out of the draft. Ziras put some good laps down and totally earned that one.
Very good. Matty, have you got anyone else to talk to?
We don't have anyone else in the booth at the moment.
Fair enough.
I'm afraid.
That's good because we've talked to the two guys who came first and second in our races tonight. Podium sitters, of course, tonight, Sam Smith and Goofball Antics, not with us, but congratulations to those gentlemen nonetheless. That pretty much wraps us up for tonight's action.
We do have Netters in the booth as well. I've just realised. Netters, what do you have for us? You had a great result as well. You've got 8th position. That's your best result of the season so far, and you've taken home a solid 8 points from that. How are you feeling about that?
Mixed emotions, to be honest, mate. Pretty much those positions were handed to us just by guys that fell off the road. So Madbird and Birdo came together, and then the Roadhog had a couple off-track excursions, and then I think the two of them actually might have hit each other at some point, Roadhog and James. So yeah, unfortunately those positions were sort of through attrition, but at least we kept it on the road, and that's the important thing. We came home and picked up some points.
Very good. Thank you, Matty, for the interviews, and thank you for our drivers for joining us tonight. Well, as far as I mentioned there, Guaporé, that wraps us up for round 5. That's the halfway point of the season. Next round, round 6, on the 16th of January, will be taking place on the other side of the ocean in Europe, in Circuit Port Armagnac in France. So we look very much forward to that as we head towards the back end of the season. My name is Stairs. I've been joined in commentary by Matty and Rhodey. Thank you, gentlemen.
Pleasure as always.
And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Bye for now.